We begin with Doug Glazader live in Washington to break down the court decision against President Trump's National Guard deployment. Doug, there was a whole lot that happened over the weekend when it comes to this. What's the latest?
Carly, good morning. There was. This is the second setback now for the White House from this federal judge in Oregon. The administration is trying to restore order for immigration enforcement in Portland. First, the judge blocked efforts to deploy the Oregon National Guard to help bring order. Then, when the administration pivoted to send in Guard units from California and Texas, the judge blocked that plan too. Now, President Trump at the White House yesterday is clearly fed up.
Portland is burning to the ground. You have agitators, insurrectionists. The governor, the mayor, the politicians are petrified for their lives. And you have a judge like that, that judge ought to be a king of them.
Okay, the judge's decision was a win, though, for, among others, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who posted on X, the court granted our request for a temporary restraining order halting any federalization, relocation, or deployment of any Guard members to Oregon from any state. Trump's abuse of power won't stand. The governor of Texas, though, says his troops are ready to go, and they could be sent to Chicago to quell protests there. He wrote on X, I fully authorized the president to call up 400 members of the Texas National Guard to ensure safety for federal officials. You can either fully enforce protection for federal employees or get out of the way and let Texas Guard do it. Now, that came after the governor of Illinois asked him to stay out of it, posting this on X. There is no reason a president should send military troops into a sovereign state without their knowledge, consent, or cooperation. That federal judge in Oregon, by the way, was appointed by President Trump during his first term.
He was.
Carly.
All right, Doug Glazader live for us in Washington. Doug, thank you. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the president ordered 400 members of the Texas National Guard to be deployed to Portland, Oregon, and Chicago, Illinois, and other locations as Democrats across the country are rejecting assistance from President Trump to handle the major crimes taking place in their cities.
The idea that we will militarize these cities, that we will impose the U.S. military on the mayors and governors of those cities and states should be unthinkable.
They want mayhem on the ground. They want to create the war zone so that they can send in even more troops.
It's a misuse of the National Guard. They're not needed in this particular role. If President Trump really wanted to fight crime, then maybe he should stop defunding the police.
Joining me now to weigh in is former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary and former ICE Director Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, good morning. It's great to see you. So a whole lot going on when it comes to this. But what it boils down to this morning is that the president is trying to send out-of-state National Guard troops into places like Portland and Chicago, where these ICE facilities have come under repeated attack. But you just heard Democrats there, Adam Schiff and J.B. Pritzker, say this is an invasion of federal agents and the president is trying to militarize cities. How do you view what the president is doing?
Well, I don't think J.D. Pritzker has very strong ground to stand on, and I'm not sure he even wants to. But they, including him, but all the officials in Chicago are doing everything to undermine ICE from doing their job. And they're also basically encouraging these rioters and protesters. And that story you were just playing earlier about the police not helping Border Patrol agents, well, President Trump has a responsibility not only to enforce immigration law, but to keep these agents safe. And people like J.B. Pritzker essentially just puts his own political interest ahead of the citizens of Chicago and certainly ahead of law enforcement, because we know this increases his standing in the Democratic Party to be opposing Trump and to be for open borders. Just as you know, he was all over the shows this weekend because this is good for him. But it's entirely appropriate, particularly in light of what's been going on lately. Portland, the same thing. We've had, I think, 140 arrests outside of the ICE facility just this year. They need to be able to do their job, and if they need National Guard to do it, meaning ICE needs to be able to do their job, they should have it.
Yeah, and you have Kristi Noem saying that cartels are putting bounties on the heads of federal agents as well. And when it comes to that situation that unfolded in Chicago, a crazy situation over the weekend where there was these protesters that were blocking these federal agents in with their cars. One woman was shot. She ended up having a gun in her car. So if the governor of Illinois, and I'm sure he doesn't want to see things like this happening, wouldn't it be beneficial to even the protesters that are protesting for the National Guard to be sent down there so that these situations don't spiral out of control?
I think it would be. I have to say, I don't think J.B. Pritzker wants it to calm down. I think this elevates him. And, you know, everything he says and does indicates that. He tells Kristi Noem to go home, even though he knows she has every right to be there, meaning the DHS has every right to be there. It's truly shocking, truly dangerous. But if he wanted to help things, he could say, hey, we'll cooperate, help you get the most serious criminals out of here. But he's yet to do that because, frankly, I don't think he wants to.
Okay, so there's also some developments when it comes to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the accused MS-13 gang member that a lot of Democrats called a Maryland dad. A judge says that his removal orders will stand. So that means that he could be deported. But there is also one more hearing in the case today, and that has to do with vindication on the part of the federal government. Explain what's going on there.
Yeah, so the criminal case in Tennessee, there's a hearing to decide whether or not the government's charging him for the human trafficking was vindictive prosecution, meaning essentially it was retaliatory for him exercising his immigration rights. Ultimately, however the judge decides, it doesn't affect his deportation and he's going home. But the interesting thing about this, to defend the government, they stumbled essentially upon the information of his human trafficking, meaning this administration, when they looked into this case, and they basically caught him red-handed, that Tennessee stop when he was caught with all the illegal migrants in his, I think, a van. And that was something the Biden administration actually was just derelict in duty, not prosecuting. So ultimately, I think the government probably wins this hearing, but it doesn't matter. Kilmer Abrego Garcia will never be the Maryland man again. Yeah. He's gone.
Well, let's hope this chapter that saw a sitting senator in El Salvador to support this alleged gang member and wife beater, let's hope that chapter quickly comes to an end. Jonathan, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.